more on this from a man with more than 20 years experience in natural disaster risk modeling for insurers and for governments. He's Tom Larsen. He's a senior vice president at Eqecat. He joins us on the phone from San Francisco. Tom, are you breathing a sigh of relief? Could this have been so much worse, been so much more costly for the U.S.?
Oh, most certainly it could have. The forecast for Irene changed many times in the last few days with the track and the intensity and the rainfall. And certainly this is, while it's a very major event, it certainly could have been much worse.
And $7 billion overall economic losses. That includes the cost to insurers, also the costs of shutting down New York City in particular. Does that sound like an accurate estimate to you?
I think as we start doing some more assessments, that number may go up. Remember, there's significant levels of flooding, and the flood levels haven't even reached their maximum yet in many of the river basins around the area. So we'll take a little bit more time to get a more complete assessment of what the losses will be.
Now, it's interesting to note that this is actually the 10th natural disaster so far this year. So already, before we get the cost of this disaster, we were looking at $35 billion for the U.S. This comes at a time, obviously, when the economy is in a very fragile condition and the government doesn't have much money to spend. How does this compare to previous years?
Well, we like to look at it individually on some of the perils. Certainly, we don't have that many earthquakes in the eastern U.S., and that was a significant event earlier this week. The tornadoes for the year were somewhere around a 20 to 50-year event. So as an aggregate for the U.S., this is sort of a 5 or 10 percentile type of event, a very type of year, a very extreme year.
A very extreme year. And you mentioned the earthquake that we saw actually in Virginia, which is rare. Also, would you say that it's rare for New York to be in the path of a major hurricane?
There are hurricanes that hit New England and the New York area about every 20 years or so. Getting one to hit directly like New York, like it did today, is something we haven't seen for about 150 years. So yes, it's very rare to have taken the track it did.
Did Mike Bloomberg, my boss here, the owner of this network, did he do the right thing? I mean, you advise governments in these situations. Did he do the right thing by evacuating parts of the city, or were they overcautious, do you think?
Absolutely, he did the right thing. One of the challenges with evacuation is it takes a very long time to stage and get people moving in an evacuation. The tipping point could be reached, and all of a sudden it's pandemonium and chaos in lower Manhattan. It could have been. This is a storm that looked fine, but if it would have flooded the subways in New York City, it could have been a whole lot worse.
Now, $2.6 billion is the figure that's put on the cost for insurers so far. Obviously, as you say, these are early numbers. But just help our viewers who might be investors in insurance companies understand just how expensive this disaster is going to be, also coming on top of the other disasters we've just been talking about in this extreme year.
Well, it's a significant year. As far as hurricane losses go, we've had much worse years. Hurricane Ike in 2008 was about $11 billion. So as for the hurricane itself, about $2 billion, it's a very large country and a very large premium base. The challenge will be smaller regional insurers that got hit very severely from this event.
All right, Tom Larsen there from Eqecat, thanks very much for helping us understand the economic cost of this latest hurricane, Hurricane Irene.